81 million gold is the current record for the most gold in the first year of Stardew Valley. A record thought to be so high that not only is it unbeatable, it hasn't had a single notable attempt in the last 3 years until now. You're probably thinking, there's no way I get close to this. So what was I thinking? Well, I fell in love with Stardew Valley this year and I've sunk hundreds of hours in the game, and I have created a genuine plan in order to beat this record, and I think I can do this. But along the way, I set myself extra goals to accomplish. I wanted to build every building, upgrade every tool to Iridium, get to Ginger Island, buy every animal, complete every monster eradication quest, and max out every skill. Okay, let's talk about how I started this challenge run. The early game of Stardew Valley is one which is particularly difficult, mainly because the lack of energy due to low skill level and lack of funds to obtain any items that we need to progress further really holds us back. So, if we're going to have a successful run, we need to tackle those obstacles. The issue of low energy is unfortunately something we can't handle right away.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
As this only increases by leveling up skills and by getting star drops further in the game. That leaves us with the only option of raising our funds. But again, with locations like Ginger Island, Skull Caverns and the mines blocked right now, what do we focus on? The only thing which gives a strong amount of gold consistently in the early game, which can be done anywhere, is fishing. On day 1, we awoke to find a gift on the ground. Ignoring the blatant security threat of someone breaking into my house, I took the parsnip seeds, cleared out an area of the land in order to farm, planted those seeds and chopped down some trees. With that, all of our energy was gone and we headed to bed so we could unlock the cutscene to obtain the fishing rod on day 2. On day 2, the spirits were feeling neutral, which meant we could have a healthy haul of fishing today once we pick up the fishing rod. So I headed outside, I watered the crops, I saw I had a letter from Willie about a gift, headed down to the beach and got the fishing rod. Using the fishing rod, I caught as many fish as I could until my inventory was filled, which is not much since we're dealing with very low inventory space until we buy the backpack upgrades. Another obstacle we need to tackle. But after selling those fish we caught, I went back to the beach and gathered some shells, did some more fishing and headed home and sold all of the fish and received a healthy amount of gold. Day 3 was a lucky rainy day, which meant no need to water the crops, and I spent all my energy fishing around the town because we're going to need all types of fish for that community center. I ended the day fishing in the mountains and I even leveled my fishing up to level 3, obtaining 2 new crafting recipes. And with the fish we sold, we made just shy of 3,000 gold. Day 4, we were visited by Clint, who gave us the recipe to make furnaces since I had actually fished up some ore on the day before. And the furnaces are something we're going to need to stockpile for the later game because we're going to be smelting an ungodly amount of iron, gold and iridium. So after I watered the crops, cleared out the land by harvesting some stone for the furnaces, I headed over to Clint's to buy some more copper for the furnaces, accidentally sold the copper I needed, bought what I could afford again, but because I made a big loss on the gold that I initially sold, I then headed back to the farm to chop some more trees down in preparation of when we could build some more buildings on the farm because I couldn't make the furnaces. Day 5, we were visited by Marnie. We adopted a cat, harvested some parsnips that were finally ready to be taken, headed over to the mines that Georgia Matt kindly removed the landslide which was in front of it, and met Marlon. Now Marlon's the head of the Adventurers Guild, who gave me a rusty sword to protect myself in the mines, and he was going to be very important later. Down in the mines, the goal was to harvest as much ore as possible and reach the bottom as fast as possible to get the key that lies at the bottom. And that was going to unlock our way into the Skull Caverns, where our gold production would increase tremendously. But with our low level skill in mining right now, our weak pickaxe and low energy, everything was preventing me from getting to the bottom fast. So we just had to make it as low as we could each time, and I was able to mine some copper ore, find some earth crystals, eat some parsnips which kept me going, get absolutely jumped by some bugs, and reach floor 14 on our first dive. With what we got, I headed back to the farm, smelted some copper and sold whatever else was extra and headed to bed, where we found out I'd leveled up in mining and combat, which increased our pickaxe proficiency and increased our health. Day 6, I gathered some more copper ingots, which I'm stockpiling so I can upgrade my tools, but then I got bullied by a little mole in the mines, mined some more copper ore and only made it to floor 14 again because my energy fell low. This is becoming a problem. Day 7 was such a productive day. but yet the spirits were annoyed. So they sent me some cookies in the mail. It's probably got poison in it, but I'm risking it. Saw the grand opening of the abandoned community center with Lewis, did some fishing in the town, and then did a big donation haul to the museum, as the rewards we get for these are going to be so beneficial, especially because sometimes we get seeds or ores for free. This time, I was able to get cauliflower seeds, which I need for money and for the community center. Then I decided to open some more geodes, donated some more, and also left my pickaxe with Clint to upgrade, then headed to the community center to read the Junimo sign, which I need translating. Once we get that community center bundles completed one by one, the progress we can make to achieve our goals will be immense. And with that, I headed back to the farm and planted the cauliflower seeds. Day 8, I headed over to Rasmodius' tower, so I can finally translate the Junimo's language, and I can begin completing the community center bundles. On the way back, I sold all the forageables that I gathered on the walk down, which was a mistake because when I went to the community center and checked the spring foraging bundle, 3 of the 4 items I needed to donate, I had just sold. So yeah, I had to find those again. On day 9, my copper pickaxe was now ready to collect. These pickaxe upgrades are so incredibly important to complete, because the faster I can upgrade the pick, the faster I can get down the levels in the mines, as it means I can destroy the stones and ores faster with less energy being used. Before I collected the pickaxe, I had time to kill, so I headed down into the forest and found some random spring onions, which I have no idea who planted it, but I took them all and gathered some more of the forageables I needed. I collected the pickaxe, completed the first community center bundle, unlocking the next 2 rooms, which meant I needed to start planting more crops to donate. So I headed to, I know, don't say anything, I went to Pierre's. I bought the seeds I needed, planted those, then headed to the mines. In the mines, I'd found a major upgrade in my sword. I'd found the steel small sword on floor 20, which had an increase in damage to 4 to 8, which is better than this rusty sword I had. So I got rid of the rusty sword and I made it to floor 28. Day 10, I gathered some food and headed back to the mines to try and stay as long as possible, but very quickly it was clear that this steel sword is definitely not working, because look how many hits this guy takes to beat. But thankfully I made it to floor 38 and sold whatever minerals I was able to spare. Day 11, I was lucky. It was raining, so I decided to do some farming, because if I hold the ground now, it will automatically be watered and save me so much time. So I planted all the wild seeds I got, and Robin was also missing her axe, so I headed into the forest, found her axe, returned it, then headed to the mines, and I was really struggling with inventory space. With the time spent in the mines, I had leveled up to level 3 in mining, and the faster I can level up my mining skill, this will be a huge benefit for when I make it to the Skull Caverns, because everything I do in this time before making it to the Skull Caverns and Ginger Island respectively is incredibly important. Day 12, I made it to floor 55, leveled up in combat, kept selling whatever I could find from the mines. Day 13, I had made a big step because I'd smelted my first few iron bars, which I need to upgrade my pickaxe even further. But before I could do that, I needed to raise more gold to afford it. These early days, I'm lacking in every resource, but once everything kicks in, things are going to change. Day 14, I cut some trees, smelted some copper, upgraded my axe because I'm going to need some hardwood for the community center, broke some geodes, went for a stroll on the beach, bought some cranberry sauce, and then headed to the Adventurers Guild. Now, in the guild, on the wall, there is a poster which has some quests on it. These quests each provide a powerful reward upon completion, but a quest we need to focus on right now was the Caved Insects mission. This is because if you are able to defeat 80 cave insects, you get rewarded with a far more powerful weapon. And this jump in power is extreme for the early game, making the cave runs much easier, so this was a must. The next day, I was able to complete this cave insects quest, so I headed straight to the guild to get my reward, and after picking up the insect head, which does a whopping 20 to 30 damage, plus 2 speed, and plus 2 crit chance, this was going to make the cave dives much quicker and smoother. Using this weapon, I was able to make it to floor 68 of the mines. Huge progress in this run, while also getting to level 4 of mining and level 3 in combat. Day 16, I donated some more to the community center, I opened some more geodes and went to get this backpack upgrade that I had been dying for. With the upgrade, I headed back to the farm to get some hardwood so I can complete another community center bundle. Right now, we're trying to complete as many bundles as possible, because each bundle I complete unlocks a a new room in the community center, and what we want to unlock is the vault room and the furnace room, because the rewards of completing these rooms are vital to this run. We need to complete these 2 rooms before anything. On day 17, I was able to unlock the furnace room, and this room requires minerals and drops, which can all be obtained in the mines, which is perfect for me as the majority of my time right now is spent in the mines. So I headed back there, made it to floor 70, donated whatever I could to the furnace room and headed back. Day 18, the wild seeds had grown, and man does it feel good to see all these ready to harvest. I harvested all those, took some food with me, headed to the mines where I reached the 80th floors, which is so good right now because these floors contain a vital mineral, gold. Now gold can be used in so many different crafting recipes, but in the early game of Stardew Valley, the value of selling gold bars is what we care about. Right now we need to gather as much gold as possible to sell, but also have some upgrade to our tools. These floors were a treasure trove. By the end of the day, I was able to reach level 5 in mining, which allows me to unlock a profession, which gives me a perk when mining, and I get the choice. I get to choose out of miner, which gives a +1 ore per vein, or a geologist, which increases the chances of gems to appear in pairs. And I thought the miner option is more a consistent perk, as +1 ore per vein can very quickly add up. Day 19, I smelted some gold, harvested the cauliflowers and carrots, finished 2 bundles in the furnace room, getting the small magnet ring and a free furnace, but finally unlocking the vault room. Now this room is the easiest in a way. While I don't need to find anything to donate, you do need to pay to complete these bundles, and these amount to around 42,000 gold, far more than I have right now. But the reward for completing all of these unlocks the skull caverns, and that is what we have been striving for. After I completed the Springs Crops bundle, I headed to the mines to get as much gold as possible and go as deep as I can, but I made it to floor 99 and could not find a ladder to go to floor 100, meaning the next time I return I have to continue from floor 95. Day 20, I did a big clean out, selling as much as I can, completing the Geologist's bundle and completing the Furnace room, which fixes the minecarts around the town, saving so much time getting around. Now, you're probably thinking it's not that much time. It saves about 30 seconds when getting across the town, but when you think about it, how often you have to run around the town, to the farm, to the mines, the time saved really does add up. And time is of the essence. After selling the items that I got from the mines and my harvest, I made my first huge payday, making a solid 10,000 gold. Speaking of 10,000, I'm hoping to hit 10,000 subs, so if you're enjoying this video, maybe hit that sub button, or don't. This video is free and for you, so enjoy, and back to it. Day 21, I cleared out the farm more, made it to floor 100, and got a star drop, which is so good. Because what this does is it increases my overall energy. Energy is so vital right now because it's what's preventing me from doing even more. So being able to get this now is perfect. But there was plenty more to do. I spent more time in the mines, used a totem to head back to the farm. By the way, I love totems. Sold a bunch of minerals, leveled up to level 6 in mining and level 5 in combat, unlocking 2 more professions to choose from, in which I chose the fighter class. And to top it all off, I made another 5,000 gold. Day 22, I was visited by Demetrius, who wanted to renovate the cave on the farm, and I chose the fruit bats option, which gives the chance of dropping fruits in the caves, which I could use to donate to the center, without having to buy the tree saplings from Pierre, which costs so much and takes so long to grow. This was just more efficient. While in the mines, I'd found a holy blade which had an insane speed of swinging, which was so fun to use. With that, I made it to the bottom of the mines. The first huge goal of the run was completed, and at the bottom I'd got the key to the skull caverns. So now I just need to make my way to the skull caverns, which are a far more deadly but far more rewarding cave with new minerals and monsters. By the end of the day, I increased foraging to level 4, unlocked the tapper, which I'm going to be, abusing very much later, but we can talk about that later too. Leveled up mining and combat and made another 6,000 gold. Day 23, I spent it in the mines to gather as many minerals as I could to sell, then headed to Pierre's to buy some parsnip seeds. Now you'd think, why don't you buy more rewarding crops? Well, first, there isn't enough time in this season, but also I picked this because I'm sick of watering crops, so I needed to unlock the quality sprinkler. This is unlocked at level 6 farming, and the only way to level up farming is by harvesting crops. So the quickest way of leveling it up is having the crops which take the least amount of time to grow and harvest those, hence parsnips. Day 24 and 25 I did more of the same, made more gold, making me close to the goal of 42,000 gold to complete the vault. Day 26 I did everything I could to get as much gold as I could find. I smelted bars, I fished rare fishes, I mined more ores, and I sold it all, and also leveled up combat to level 7 and mining to level 8. Day 27 I had hit the goal of 42,000 gold. But even better, the parsnips were ready. I harvested those, man, it felt so good to harvest all these, and I headed over to the vault to buy it all, and realized I'm actually 500 gold short. Okay, let's sell some more stuff. Day 28 I smelted something incredibly valuable, an iridium bar. This carries a hefty price of 1,000 gold per bar, and that is before we even get the blacksmith profession. I sold that, completed the vault bundle, cleared out more of the farm, and finally repaired the bus, which will take us to the skull caverns and means the end of spring. Day 29 I used the newly fixed bus to go to the notorious skull caverns. But before I head inside, I bought some spicy eel from the vendor in the desert by trading in some rubies, and this meal is so important. That's because spicy eels bring us 3 benefits. First, it increases our energy/health like normal, but it also gives us a speed boost and a boost in luck for 7 minutes. That means we're more likely to find more valuable minerals, so this combo is incredible. We need to get a lot of rubies so we can constantly buy them. With that, I headed into the skull caverns, which instantly I was welcomed by some serpents here who deal a lot of damage and are incredibly fast. But with the increased danger comes better rewards, because the rate of minerals showing up increases so much more. But we can never put our guard down because these serpents will constantly swarm us. By the end of the day, I had a huge haul, headed back, sold everything and made 5,000 gold, which is a small amount for my first run, but trust me, it will increase. Day 30, I gathered the gold bars, cleared out the farm more, headed back to the skull caverns, made use of all the bombs to speed up the runs, and saw another benefit of the holy blade, because this blade can kill mummies, whereas the other blades only stun them for a little while when you defeat them. W holy blade. While exploring, I kept hoping to find these holes in the ground, because these allow me to drop multiple floors at once, but they do deal damage, so we need to be careful. The lower we go, the more minerals and rare minerals that appear. But every skull cavern run, we have to start from floor 1, so these holes are vital to find. In day 31, there was an earthquake in the night. We made another 8,000 gold. We saw Emily at our door inviting me to use her sewing machine since I'd found some cloth in the mines, which I can use to now make new clothes, which I will be making use of later. I gathered up the gold bars I smelted, I foraged a bunch of pretty shells on the beach, paid Clint to upgrade my pickaxe to steel, and really had an epiphany. While the progress I was making was good, it was not good enough. To get even close to the record of the gold world record made in a single year, I had to switch sides. I changed my allegiance to Georgia Mart. It was what had to be done. I paid the membership, I walked home, contemplating how my life would change, chopped some trees, and accepted that I chose the dark side. The next day, I'd smelted some iridium bars, sold those, cleared out the farm some more because I wanted to plant more crops. Saw that my skill levels were lacking a little. Even though mining and combat was high, I realized I need to prioritize the others. Then I bought the backpack upgrade, increasing our capacity to 36, bought a god-awful amount of corn seeds, and headed over to Georgia to see what my next steps were. What this means is that I can no longer repair the community center by donating items I get throughout the year and having the Junimals make their repairs. Instead, I can get the rewards and make the repairs around the town just by paying Georgia. The reason I did this was because I realized if I continued with the center bundles, I would have to wait till the end of the year to complete the winter items, meaning I'd only finish at the end of the year. And in order to get to Ginger Island and unlock the broken down boat to fix up, I need to fix everything in the town. hence why I had to switch. I can get the money to pay for all of these much faster. I wasn't proud, but it was a necessary evil. With the corn seeds, I headed back, prepped the land, planted fertilizer to get higher quality crops, when they grow, and planted the seeds. The reason I chose corn is because these will continue to grow in fall, so will last for 2 seasons. On day 33, my foraging had leveled up to 5, giving me another profession to choose. Man, I got like 20 professions right now, and I'm still broke. But I chose the forester option. When I woke up, the steel pickaxe was ready to collect. I watered the crops, headed over to Clint's and waited eagerly, collected it, made use of the minecart, saving another 30 seconds, and headed over to the skull caverns to see how good this pick was, and it made a considerable difference. Thanks to the steel pick, on day 34, my mining leveled up to 9, unlocking the crystallarium, which is such a good item that we will be making use of soon. The rest of the day I spent in the caverns trying to get as much minerals as possible, selling as much as I can, leveling up my combat to 8 and making another 9,000 gold for Joja. Day 35, I made more furnaces, cleared the farm more, gathered more hardwood, and realized how weak my axe is. It's in need of upgrades, and when you get this to iridium, gathering wood is arguably the best feeling ever. Day 36, my copper watering can was ready, and I had a battery made from the lightning rod, which was struck by lightning the day before, and I stupidly sold it, which I would regret majorly later. I got my watering can, left my pick to upgrade to gold, donated a bunch to the museum, but got some lacking rewards. But with my new watering can, I went to see how much faster I could water everything, and I timed it and it was barely any faster. It was kind of sad. Day 37, I watered the crops and just did some minor tasks around the farm. Day 38, my gold pickaxe was ready, so I went to the mines to test it out, and this new hammer that I'd found, but even though it does slightly more damage, the slowness in attacking with the hammer was making it feel like no difference at all. I would have to suffer with these weapons until I can find a prismatic shard in these mines so I can get the galaxy sword. The prismatic shard is a gem in the mines that I can get either from a lucky drop on a stone or from an enemy drop. Either way, it's rare. Day 39, I sold all the bars I made, which was a huge mistake that you'll realize later, and then headed to the beach for the luau, but realized I forgot to bring anything for the soup. And speaking of soup, I argue it's the worst meal ever, so fight me. The next day, I headed to Jojama to check on the prices of the repairs I needed around the town, and the total I needed was a whopping 80,000 gold. The rest of the day, I spent in the skull caverns and bought more salads from the saloon for future cavern dives. Day 41, the spirits were annoyed, but clearly this was a lie because this was a rainy day, so I didn't have to water the crops. Day 42, I did have to water the crops, checked and saw the spirits were happy, grabbed the rubies for the spicy eels, sold the battery, which was another mistake, and headed to the desert. There, I bought the spicy eels, headed into the mines, but this time I tried a new combo of bringing 2 weapons, the hammer for the serpents and the holy blade for slimes and mummies. By the end of the day, I was able to make more furnaces and smelt more. Day 43, I had a huge haul of ingots to gather. The more furnaces I have, the more bars I can make, so I definitely needed more. I decided to head over to Clint's again, broke more geodes, donated some more, checked the price of the final pickaxe upgrade, which is a crazy 25,000 gold, a little more than what we have right now, but with this upgrade, the power of the pick is incredible, making the cavern dives so much faster. So I headed to the cavern to get more minerals to sell and made another 12,000 gold overnight. Day 44, I went and paid for the upgrade and eagerly waited. The next day was an unusual day as a strange green rain descended upon us. Now we don't know why this happens, but what it does do is it leaves huge amounts of grass bundles to cut and trees to cut down. So I spent the day doing this and harvesting the corn. Day 46, my farming had leveled up to 4, meaning 2 more and I can make the quality sprinklers that I so badly needed. I also had my mining skill maxed out, which meant that was one of the 5 skills completed. Now we can focus on the others more, a big step to reaching our goals. Nevertheless, I got my iridium pick and I headed to the mines for the rest of this day and the next, and I found the legendary prismatic shard that I had been searching for while also making a huge amount of gold. The iridium upgrade was definitely worth it, and when I upgrade the rest, it will be huge. Day 48, I gathered more hardwood and regular wood, took the prismatic shard to the desert and stood in between these pillars, which triggers an event that gives me my new weapon, the Galaxy Sword, which is the best weapon in the game arguably. This does damage between 60 and 80 and also has a +4 speed. After I headed back to Georgia, paid for the greenhouse upgrade because this means I can grow any type of crops year round and don't have to worry about the season, but we was using the greenhouse for only one extremely valuable and rare crop. I paid for that, bought more salads and waited for the greenhouse to be repaired overnight. Day 49, the spirits were angry, clearly because Joja Mart was on the farm and even Granny Evelyn came over too to yell at me for that. When she left, I harvested the corn and checked out the greenhouse where I planted the first seed of the most valuable crop, which will give me the most amount of money in this run, the Star Drop. Day 50, we had the mystery boxes finally available to be found when cutting down trees and in the mines. We can open these at Clint's for valuable items which are found inside. But I also leveled up farming and combat and spent time gathering more wood, which increased my foraging skill to level 6. Day 51, I decided to check the cave on the farm and saw there was a huge amount of fruits to gather. If we had the center still to rebuild, these would be valuable, but we don't need them, so I sold them all, but at least this should increase my farming or foraging skill, you know, just a little bit. After, I headed to the desert to visit the oasis. Here, we can buy rare seeds and items, specifically the Star Drop seed, but these are very expensive. It's a good thing I have 25,000 gold, so I spent it all here to plant in the greenhouse, which I headed back and did right away. These are so important because the value of these, when we sell them, is immense. And also, we can turn these into wines which multiply the value even more. The Star Drop is OP. Day 52, I spent tending to my crops on the farm. Day 53, I harvested more corn, hoping to level up so I can make quality sprinklers, which I did. Day 54, I realized to make quality sprinklers I needed refined quartz, and that I have been constantly selling throughout this playthrough, so I had 0. That means I need to get more, putting me back in my progress. So I headed to the caverns to get some, and also I found a cool blue cowboy hat, and I thought of switching hats, but I love this one too much so I didn't. But I sold a bunch of stuff and made a bunch more gold for Georgia. The spirits were happy the next day and the final day of summer. I watered the crops, grabbed the refined quartz and made some quality sprinklers and decided to put these on the cornfield. I spent the rest of the day in the caverns and ended the night going to see the Dance of the Midnight Jellies, a nice change of pace. But before sleeping, I made more sprinklers so in the morning I don't have to water as much, and I headed to bed, which means the end of summer. Day 56 meant the start of fall, and that means this is the final season to gain gold from crops as they'll all die in winter. So I have to make the most of it. But first, I needed more coal, so I decided to make some kilns so I can turn regular wood into coal. And that's what I did. I went to break a bunch of geodes and donate them to the museum too, then headed over to Joja Mart to pay for the next repair, specifically the bridge to the quarry, because this will be a huge step in gathering a bunch of minerals with ease. So I paid the 25,000 gold for that and headed back to the farm to collect my coal. While there, I smelted more iron and headed to the skull caverns and found more rare hats, and overnight the bridge was repaired. The next day, I watered the Star Drop seeds, headed to the caverns and found some lucky rings. Now these are so good because each ring grants +1 luck, but I had 2, so I constantly have +2 luck. And not just that, I ate spicy eels for another +1 luck. And if I did the cave dives on lucky days, that's another +1 luck. I could potentially do runs with +4 luck in total, which can help me find so many rare minerals with ease. Day 58, I smelted a bunch of iridium bars to sell, made a bunch more sprinklers, saw there was a new job post in the town which I could use to make some gold, then went and paid for the final development project in the town and removed the glimmering boulder in the mountains. Day 59, I gathered a whole bunch of wood, then realized it's Thursday, and what's good about Thursday is at the Oasis, the shopkeeper offers deluxe speed grow at a huge discounted price, so I went over to buy a bunch for the Star Drop seeds so I can grow them faster and sell more. With that, I headed back and planted it all, and then I bumped into the renovation of the community center that Georgia turned into a warehouse. Okay, I know, I'm sorry, okay, I had to. Day 60, Willie gave me a copper pan after having an emotional moment with me, spoke to the wizard at the entrance to this cave where he asked me to complete a strange task for him. I headed to Pierre's to buy a bunch of eggplant seeds as they grow quite fast and produce consistently because I needed to level up my farming and make more gold. After planting those, I headed to Willie's house because I'd completed all the projects around the town now, and that means a new goal shows itself. And it's time to fix up the boat to head to Ginger Island. Now, to fix this, I need 5 iridium bars, 200 hardwood, and 5 batteries. And remember how I kept selling batteries? I needed to pray for thunderstorms now, and I needed to create more lightning rods in preparation of that so I can get some more batteries. Now, this is all luck, so we gotta hope for thunderstorms. Day 61, I gathered more hardwood for the boat and headed to the caverns to gather a bunch of minerals. I need to express how important these cave dives are for gold. They produce so much at a consistent rate, so I need to keep doing this to be able to keep progressing. Day 62, I finally filled out the farm with all the sprinklers I needed so I don't have to water anything. I made another plot of farming land where I planted bok choy seeds because these grow really fast, and I gathered some more wood. Day 63, the spirits were very happy, so that means one thing. I headed to the desert, brought my staircases, and bought a bunch of stuff from the vendor and made it to floor 92 of the Skull Caverns. Unfortunately, not quite 100 just yet. Day 64, I smelted all the iridium that I had gathered the day before, meaning I was making a huge payday tonight. I opened more geodes and I got the treasure appraisal guide, which means when I sell artifacts, I can get a better price for them, which is perfect for this run. With that, I decided to check out the newly opened quarry to see what minerals I could get and found a whole treasure trove of them. This was insanely good. While here, I remembered there's a cave here where I can get a very special item at the bottom. Granted, I survived the trip down. I fought off the floating skulls, which are a huge pain, and made it to the statue of the Grim Reaper and took the golden scythe. Now, I don't know what makes it so good, but it's gold, and with that I teleported out and made 20,000 gold today. Day 65, I sold a bunch of gold. Since the price of gold is so high right now, I needed to do it. I harvested a bunch of corn, eggplants and bok choys, and it was even better because half of the star drops were ready. With that, I replanted the bok choy, I used my desert totem to go back to the oasis, bought a bunch more star drop seeds, which you would think surely I'm making a loss because the seeds are so expensive, but because I'm selling the star drops, they bring in a huge amount of gold, so it's extremely profitable. Day 66, my farming leveled up to 9, unlocking the kegs to make wines. That kind of multiplied the value of the star drops immensely. But overnight, I made a whopping 84,000 gold from the harvest, the star drops, and the minerals I sold. Now this is where I needed to lock in, and things really got busy. I made more sprinklers, I expanded the farm, I gathered more hardwood for the boat, I bought cranberry seeds for the farm, I ran around the map foraging to get that skill up, and did another skull cavern dive, reaching floor 100 and getting a life elixir, which is a last resort in case I get close to dying. Day 67, the other side of star drops were ready, so I harvested those, smelted a bunch of iridium bars, planted acorn seeds because I needed oak resin to make wines, picked up my steel axe, then left my hoe to upgrade to copper, chopped the big boy logs with the steel axe, and made 75,000 gold tonight. We was really making progress, and with half of the season left, it's time to really speed things up. Day 68 was a Sunday, which meant I could go to the desert and get staircases in trade for jades. But first, I harvested the crops, cut some trees, and then headed there and bought those. Then I bought even more star drop seeds. While I was chopping trees, it really hit me that my other skills needed more focus, so I decided to get those really built up. While doing so, I saw some kids looking in the sewer for a clown, went to the travelling cart begging for a battery, but to no avail, finally opened the path to the secret forest where I could get more hardwood, and leveled up foraging to 8. Then I got my copper hoe, instantly left it to upgrade it to iron, broke a meteor that landed on the farm, narrowly missing my head, headed to the festival where I showcased my best goods and got second place, making me glad I picked Georgia. Then I took my stuff back, harvested more eggplants, upgraded my hoe again to gold, maxed out my farming skill, making 2 of the 5 skills done, chopped a strange mushroom tree on the farm, then chose my farming profession to be artisan. And then my cranberries were ready. Gathered those, which felt so satisfying, collected my gold hoe and upgraded the axe to gold. After that I sold a bunch. We was making such huge progress with everything. The gold was really rolling in. The skills were getting maxed out, the tools were getting upgraded, everything was slowly coming together, and we just had to keep focused. I truly believe with a bit of luck we can beat that record and achieve all of our extra goals. Day 75, the spirits were very happy because my gold axe was done. I left my watering can to upgrade, headed to the caverns because I was not getting any thunderstorms for batteries, so I was praying to get one as a drop from these iridium bats, but the likelihood is very low. The reason we need to go to Ginger Island is because we can make even more upgrades to our tools and grow so many more star drops there. But with that, we maxed out our combat and picked the brute profession, dealing 15% more damage. Day 76, I checked my skills and saw only 2 more skills were left to max out. Things were looking good. Day 77, all of the star drops were ready to harvest, and all I saw was huge money bags. Nobody let Jojo know. I sold them all and got my iron watering can and paid 25,000 gold to upgrade my axe to iridium, which with the amount of gold we're making is basically nothing. Day 78, we made the gold back and more, and made our biggest payday yet with 98,000 gold. Now I needed more star drop seeds, so I headed back to the oasis to get more. I sold the forageables that I found in the desert, then replanted the seeds. The next day, my iridium axe was done, another item maxed out, and with that I wanted to experience how good it was, and man, did chopping wood feel so good. Day 80, I headed to the travelling cart hoping for a battery, but again, nothing. But luckily, I went to the guild and realized I had a reward waiting, the napalm ring, and this is so fun to use because when I defeat an enemy with this, the enemy will blow up, damaging enemies around and breaking stones. As you know, one of the goals that I set was to complete all of these monster eradication goals, and my plan was to do this all in winter when farming was non-existent. Also during winter, I wanted to get all the buildings built, but it's time to make a start. I gathered my resources and paid Robin to build a coop, and I ended the day making use of the napalm ring in the mines, and look how fun this is. The next day I spent it gathering wood for more buildings, and day 82 I went to the travelling cart again for a battery, but nope. There was no thunderstorms, there was no batteries. My only hope was getting it from an iridium bat drop during winter, or potentially the travelling cart during winter as well. With that, I ended fall, getting my gold watering can and putting some tappers on oak trees so I can get oak resin for the kegs to make wine in the winter. And trust me, the gold I was going to make would blow your mind. Day 83 and the first day of winter. The crops were all done, so it was time to focus heavily on getting all the buildings built, the animals bought, and the wines brewed. Today, I spent time gathering more hardwood, found this shadow guy which let me get a magnifying glass in order to find secret notes so I can find Easter eggs, and also went back to the caverns and found some energy tonics. Safe to say, I'll never have to worry about low energy again. At the end of the day, I headed home, made sure to smelt some iron before bed, and passed out. Day 84, I had so many iridium bars smelted, and let me just say, even though we have smelted loads by this point, every time I leave the house and see so many smelted, I smile just a little, knowing, yeah, that's right, I got iridium bars. It's stupid, I know, but it's a little something I enjoy. I also picked up my iridium watering can, meaning all that was left to upgrade was my hoe. So I paid for that upgrade right away, then I spent the rest of the day in the regular mines because I needed to focus on completing the monster eradication goals in the guild. And right now I was focusing on the void spirits, the bats and the skeleton goals. By the end of the day I had made another 30,000 gold. Day 85, the coop was ready, so it was time to get some chickens, so I headed to Marnie's and bought as many as I could. Then I bought a heater and a bunch of hay and a grabber. Then I went to the coop, put the grabber down and the heater, and remembered I found an auto petter in the caverns, which is incredibly rare. So this means I don't have to pet the chickens, I'm automating every task possible. And that also means I need to upgrade the coop, because if I can get the coop to the final upgrade, the deluxe level, it has an auto feeder, so I don't even have to put the hay out for them. Day 86, my iridium hoe was ready. And then I spent some time feeding the chickens, checking out the traveling cart again, still nothing, but the coop was upgraded, so I bought some ducks to join the chickens, harvested the star fruits, and then instantly paid for the deluxe coop upgrade. We were really speed running these builds. I also decided to head to see Gus at the saloon and buy a bunch of coffee because I wanted to run around faster and save some time. Caffeine was going to save this run, as it saves everything else in my life. The next day, there was a strong wind and thud, and I went to check what it was, and a huge tree had fallen down, and I needed 100 hardwood to repair it. Day 89, Pierre came to my door, advertising his store like I haven't been giving him tens of thousands of gold already, but then saw the coop was fully upgraded and was automated, but I could not put the hay in the dispenser part without a silo, so I needed to build that next. Now a silo has a capacity of 250 hay, so if I put hay in there, it will dispense it to all the automated coops and barns. Then I went for a run and gathered more oak resin to make some kegs for wines, and this was going to be huge for gold. Now normally selling a single star fruit brings in 1,125 gold, whereas a star fruit wine brings in 4,725 gold, 4 times the value, so this is why we need kegs. With those, I built my first few and placed them in the center. I know everything looks ugly where I normally make everything look really good, but this is a challenge run. I'll fix it later. But like I said earlier, I need a silo, so I went to Robin's and paid for that to be built, but thankfully it was cheap. With the coop also fully upgraded, I could also buy rabbits to join the chickens and the ducks. And if I'm going to make use of the eggs, I need to turn them into mayonnaise. So I bought a bunch of mayo machines and I was diversifying every way I could make gold. Day 90, I spent it gathering resources for the farm. Day 91, I grabbed a cola from my Georgia sponsored fridge, which honestly is quite nice, so I'm not complaining. I harvested more star fruits and put them in the kegs to start brewing wine, and after that I planted more star fruits along with deluxe grow. Day 92, I placed the hay in the dispenser, so now I can fully ignore the animals in here, then went and fixed a huge tree with 100 pieces of hardwood, then realized while I had been turning wood into coal, why don't I just buy coal from Clint when I'm basically rich right now? So that's what I did, and then I bought a stable to get a horse. After that, I headed to the quarry to gather more resources and then the regular mines to work on the eradication quests. Day 93, the mayonnaise was ready, which I grabbed, saw a raccoon had moved into the big tree I repaired, opened a bunch of mystery boxes, then tried to use a sewing machine but realized I didn't have any cloth, but since I got a rabbit, I'll get wool and I can make cloth soon. Day 94, I checked my skills and saw that I had 4 of the 5 all maxed out, leaving only fishing left. But also, the bookseller was in town, so now that I got gold, I headed over there and bought half of the books to get the perks and increase my fishing level. After my reading session, I headed over to Robin's to get the next building built, the barn. With this, I could get cows. I also bought a workbench to put in between my chests, which allows me to craft anything from any of the items in both chests, rather than having to put them in my inventory. It just makes crafting easier. I also bought the big chest recipe so I can upgrade my chests because they're fully maxed out, but these big chests, man are they expensive. Day 95, I smelted a bunch of copper for future kegs and completed 2 monster quests in the mines, where I received a vampire ring and a skeleton mask, but both were not very helpful. So now I focused on the Void Spirits quest. Day 96, I grabbed more mayo, put more eggs in, harvested more star fruits, headed to the traveling cart and failed again, then headed to Woolies to buy the fiberglass rod. Day 97, the barn was ready and I was able to get more oak resin for kegs. We just need a huge field of kegs so we can make infinite gold. I also went and paid for the barn upgrade and spent the day in the mines and then ended it at the night market, which is such a fun event, where I went to watch the mermaid show and put the secret code in for a reward. Day 98, I waited for Marnie to wake up and bought some cows, then put the heater in the barn and the auto petter as I found another one in the caverns and another grabber in here. I was really automating everything. Day 99, I saw I had wool in the coop, so I could turn this into cloth, but I was running low on wood for the next barn upgrade, so I ran around looking for trees, but I couldn't find any. On day 100, I had a diamond made in the crystallarium, which felt good, and I put this in my chest to sell later, fed the cows, made more mayo, harvested more star fruits, chopped whatever trees were left, and realized Robin said before I could turn hardwood into regular wood with a wood chipper, So I made room for that and headed over there because I had so much hardwood. Oh, and I also built the cabin too. I only bought one wood chipper just to test it out first, but I placed this and put some hardwood in, and the rest of the day I chopped the remaining trees in the quarry and then headed to the mines to focus on the monster quests. The next day I saw that I got 10 wood from the wood chipper for 1 hardwood and decided I'm going to go all in and buy loads. So I headed to Robin's and bought a bunch, placed them, put the hardwood in, even bought wood from Robin and bought the final barn upgrade. Day 102, I drank a cola, collected the wood from the wood chippers and realized there's a small chance of getting oak resin from these wood chippers, which is a happy surprise, and with that, I made more kegs. Day 103, the cows are finally producing milk and I headed over to Robin to get the first house upgrade. After that, I headed to buy the catalogue from Pierre's. Day 104, I had the starfruit wines ready, which I grabbed and sold, made way more kegs and made a buttload from the wine. Day 105, I focused on getting more starfruit wines brewed and spent the time in the mines. With the end of the year coming up on us, I needed to do everything I can to make every piece of gold possible. I was striving to beat this challenge and honestly, I was worried, but I just wanted to take a moment to say this challenge was my first ever in Stardew, and it was a big thing for me. I really loved every minute, and this whole video took me a month to make, from recording to scripting to editing. So if you could leave a like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. But yeah, in this year, so much went wrong, but I was not going to give up. I just kept going and going and going until eventually spring. The year had ended and it was time to look at everything we had done. The challenge was to beat the world record of gold made in a single year and also complete some side goals. Let's go through those first. I was able to complete all the repairs around the town, built the fully upgraded coop and barn, bought all the animals I could for these, minus the goat and pig, built a stable and the cabin, upgraded every tool to iridium, completed 4 monster slayer quests, and maxed out 4 skills. And the big one, I was able to make 1.1 million gold in my first year. Now looking at that, I didn't really accomplish any of my goals other than upgrading all my tools, but it just makes me realize there's so much more I can do to improve. While I came nowhere close to beating these challenges, I had such a blast doing it, so I'm gonna definitely try again. But still, I hope you all enjoyed my challenge and I hope you'll stick around for some more videos.